Hello, world of YouTube. We are here. We made it. We're at episode 2. This is What Did I Just Watch? The YouTube series where me, Gregory Nelson, former theater worker, discusses pro wrestling with my fellow theater worker friends who are not wrestling fans. So my guest today is Jamie Wilkinson. Jamie and I met years ago working backstage. He's a director and playwright in the Boston area. I'm going to give him 60 seconds to introduce himself. So Jamie, the floor is yours.
I think I can even do it in less than 60. So yes, I'm a playwright and director. I'm one of the co-artistic directors of Exiled Theater. I'm also a critic, and you can read my stuff on bostonstagenotes.com. All my writing goes there. And that's me.
Awesome.
Done.
All of Jamie's info will be in the information section at the bottom. Now, as soon as Jamie showed interest in doing this show, I asked myself, what match would I show to a writer and director? What match tells a story to extreme levels? What match had a year of build with tremendous payoff? That's right, we will be covering John Cena versus The Rock from WrestleMania 29. No, I'm just kidding. That match sucks. We're going to talk about Johnny Gargano versus TOMMASO Ciampa from NXT TakeOver New Orleans. So already I've given Jamie the opportunity to view just the video package from this match. It can tell a wrestling fan so much about what's going on without you having to watch it. So Jamie, what did you get out of this video package here?
God, I wish I had taken notes because I had so many questions. As someone who really I'm aware wrestling was a thing, but never experiencing it for myself, to just get blasted in the face, with a lot of information, a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings, and sights and sounds and colors. It was a lot to take in.
Former friends, former tag team partners, Johnny Gargano and TOMMASO Ciampa. This video package shows them as a tag team, DIY. They travel the world together for 12 years. There's footage of Gargano's wedding with Ciampa in the background. Then, after failing time and time again to capture the tag team championships, Ciampa turns on Gargano, and all Gargano wants to know is why. So we see Gargano get pushed into the spotlight as Ciampa is recovering from an ACL injury, and the storytelling couldn't be better. What we inevitably see is the return of Ciampa, who plans to unleash hell on Gargano, screwing him out of the NXT championship.
I mean, again, there's a lot going on. And part of it was just not even so much the relationship between the two of them. It's all of the ceremony attached with everything else. I was very confused why everyone was holding up signs of a smiley face that was doing kind of a where are they getting these? Are these handed out as people are walking into the ring?
Somebody just prints these up and hands them out either outside or inside.
Oh, it's not even officially the organization. It's just some guy.
Yeah, it's just
some guy does this.
Yeah, the NXT fans are that dedicated and hyped for a huge weekend of wrestling. It's insanity.
Nice.
I think we're about to get into this match, Jamie. Are you excited?
Let's do it. I'm very excited. I cannot wait.
You should have the footage ready for you. To those of you at home watching, if you want the full experience, if we're friends in real life, hit me up with an email or something. I'll give you my network info, and you can watch this match and join us as we come back, because I know Jamie's going to have some interesting things to say about this one.
I have my pen and paper. I'm ready.
I love it. Okay. All right, we're going to give this match a watch and come back to you guys in a bit. Jamie, isn't that the way to start the day?
Yes. Yeah. Or it's a way to start the day, I guess. Yeah, that was a lot to take in at 9 in the morning.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, we didn't mention before that we're just waking up, and yes, I've
got my morning coffee.
I'm having I had my second cup during that match, and I'm just so much more awake now.
Yeah, man.
So, what are your first thoughts?
my my first thought, honestly, I don't know exactly what I was expecting. Like I think like I had sort of a general idea. I knew it like okay, it might get kind of ridiculous. It's going to be very athletic, acrobatic, whatever. Um, and it just kept going. Like it just kept going on and on. Watching basically two slabs of meat just wailing on each other. and and like there was some fun in the beginning, but just the fact that it kept going on and on. Oh my God. By the end, I was looking at the crowd like, why isn't anyone stopping this?
Well, I didn't mention it before, but the best thing about, an NXT takeover crowd the night before WrestleMania is that WrestleMania has 80,000 fans, and NXT takeover has 20% of those fans, and they're the most rabid fans that wrestling has to offer.
I picked that up in the middle of the fight when they just started chanting "You suck."
Oh my God, they're so passionate. They chant NXT. They chant the brand's name. It's so good.
Oh my God, yeah, but that was brutal.
No, let's start from the beginning. Let's just start with these entrances.
Yes, okay. Ciampa comes in and like everything is silent. It's this like long pause as he like slowly goes into the ring. And everyone's looking at him and he's just like staring down the crowd.
He's getting chants saying, "You suck, fuck you, Ciampa, Johnny wrestling." But when Johnny's music hits, the crowd just pops hard. It is insane.
Yeah, they're going nuts. Johnny comes in, he's got what looks like a breastplate, shin guards, and then a Speedo.
Now, Johnny is notorious for dressing up as Marvel characters.
And really?
I believe this attire was based off Thor.
Thor or Hawkeye? Doesn't Hawkeye have that kind of like vest thing? I'm not up to date on Marvel.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to further research this and we'll tell our viewers which one of us is right.
Like the thing I noticed, so like Ciampa comes out, everything is this like sickly yellow glow, like nothing's really happening. Johnny comes out and like there's music, there's graphics, there's flashing things.
Oh my God.
Those signs of like the people with the one like sort of meh face on it. There's a shot of like someone holding up their cell phone
with that image on it.
Like, yeah, like the one guy's like, I didn't get a paper, but I'm a part of this.
I never noticed that, but I'm definitely going to throw that image into this. That's amazing. That's the awesome subtle thing you always see from watching these matches over and over again too. You just pick up more and more as you watch them. For example, I've watched this match 5 times in the past week to prepare for this, and I just keep discovering more and more things I just continue to love about this match. Another interesting thing you might not have noticed is the referee is wearing a black
gloves
and black gloves. 100%
did notice that
for this match. Normally,
I wanted to know why he was wearing gloves.
Oh, normally if blood is drawn during the match, the referee will put on gloves. But the fact that he's already wearing them and 100% prepared for what's about to happen is just like a nice little touch of storytelling that I feel like most wrestling fans wouldn't even notice.
I saw that and was like, what is about to happen here now? What is going on?
Why does this man need to protect his hands? All right, so first beat of this match, the bell rings and there's just like 30 seconds of silence. And then it just explodes. Johnny takes the offensive and, he just starts wailing on him. And, eventually it finds its way outside of the ring. Gargano leaps over to the guardrail into the crowd, and the crowd just continues to just erupt. And the best thing you can really notice about an NXT TakeOver crowd is how quickly they turn once the momentum shifts. Because right after that guardrail dive, Ciampa wounds up, I think he suplexes Gargano, landing his stomach on the guardrail. And the momentum of the crowd just absolutely turns into like a wave of boos.
Yeah, and I think that's when I realized like I started to get a hint of exactly what I was getting myself into here. because so the bell rings, so you're right, there's that 30 seconds of like silence. Although I noticed that like Johnny's kind of like doing this sort of weird hand jerking motion as he's looking at him.
I'm glad you noticed that. Like, there's very little hand movements that they do to communicate with each other, and it's just brilliant.
It was like, all right, that's one way to start it. I'm just gonna sort of jerk off for them. No, and then just wailing on him.
Mm-hmm.
Like the note I wrote down after that was ... So now punching.
After that, we get introduced to something I like to call Chekhov's cement floor.
Yes.
Very similar to Chekhov's pistol, where if you introduce a pistol into a play in Act 1, it has to be fired by Act 3.
I was appreciating the fact that in the middle of all this, punching and hitting and back and forth, one of them was like, you know what, I'm going to take this break to like rip up some carpet. Mm-hmm. Like, I've never liked this carpet. It's going back.
Now, it was either before or
it's
after.
Too safe. I did greatly appreciate, and this might be getting a little ahead of ourselves, but like when, who was it? It was Johnny who was thrown at the commentators, like literally like at.
Yes, that brings
at the table.
That actually happens right after this little tease game. Ciampa almost like successfully lands him on the cement, but Johnny winds up hopping up onto the ring apron, kicking Ciampa in the face, and throwing him over the commentator's desk, where you could hear commentator Mauro Ranallo say "Mamma Mia," but it's not fully into the headset because it's like been like pushed away from his face at the time. But shortly after that, the crowd erupts into Mamma Mia chants. And we're actually going to get to one of my favorite parts commentary-wise right here, because after he gets thrown over, Johnny gets up onto the table. He pulls Ciampa up with him, starting to like almost prepare him to put him through this table. And the commentator, Nigel McGuinness, says,
I'm wondering if you're going to say what I think you're going to say. Go
how
for
do you
it.
deal with a friend who stabs you in the back? Like Oscar Wilde says, a true man stabs you in the front. Now,
yes, I wrote down Oscar Wilde quote because I was like, what is happening? Why is that what's happening? Like what we're thinking about as like one man is beating another with some audio visual equipment.
And that's the best part about it. You have a commentary team where one man is screaming Mamma Mia and shouting over 75% of the match. And then you have Nigel McGuinness, who's, obviously well-read. and
apparently.
Quoting Oscar Wilde. It's just a nice touch for us theater people.
Although I did feel bad for whoever's AV equipment that is. I was like, oh man, it's oh no, it's getting destroyed. No, don't.
After the famous Oscar Wilde quote, they both get up onto the table, tease a suplex back and forth, and then Tommaso Ciampa suplexes Gargano hard.
I just wrote down, they're just writhing in pain on the floor.
The funny thing about this is you just suplex a man onto the floor. You're writhing in pain. Your spine is literally in the opposite direction as you're trying to, force all that pain out of your back. And then right after that, Ciampa takes a part of the table, which is just straight Luan, and, tries to put Johnny through it, and he just bounces off it. And it's just a really tiny part of the match that I feel like wasn't needed right there, considering all the brutality that's already been displayed.
Oh, that's where it crossed the line for you, like being thrown onto cheap plyboard.
Well, not really. No, I'd say it was just
cheap plywood.
I'd say it was more underwhelming for him to not go through the cheap plywood and just like 195 man just bouncing off it.
Yes.
So after all of this, the match finds its way back into the ring and cools down for a bit. You see a lot of like headlock style moves where both competitors can really like calm down for a few minutes, talk about what they want to do next, while also allowing the crowd to cool down for, the insanity that's going to come.
I think this is also where like I kind of started, like I stopped being really able to keep track of story. It was just now where it's like, just let it happen. It's just, it's just going to be brutal for the rest of this.
I mean, if you don't already know that these guys hate each other from what you've already seen in the match, and like, I don't want to tell you what's coming next.
Although I think this is also about the time, I want to give another shout out to the commentator for some fantastic references. I can't remember what the move was, but he's one of them said something about this, treating him as Cain treated Abel, which, you know, throw in a Bible reference, why not?
Oh my God.
Like, that's really what this was missing.
The last thing pro wrestling needs is more Bible
More biblical references.
Yeah, seriously. Ciampa finds his way out of the ring, and that's what I named this next beat. This fucking guy. So Ciampa finds his way over to a man who's standing at the guardrail, holding two crutches and wearing a Johnny Gargano shirt. And what does Tommaso Ciampa do? He robs this man of his crutches. And like, you can tell it's a plant because this guy is just escorted away. A spotlight picks the guy up as he's exiting, but it's not really there for like when it's needed. And it's just like, I think this is absolutely cheesy, but you know, you needed to introduce that symbolic crutch into this match somehow.
See, and that's where, like, if we want to take a more academic approach to this, like, I think we can make the arguments, like, it's not so much that he's stealing the crutch, it's that the crutch is an offering to the gods. Like, he's coming, it's like, you know, like, this sort of the Greek hero is, you know, fighting, and, like, one of the peasants, like, sacrifices a goat, and now he can use the goats to, you know, kill Poseidon or what the fuck ever. Oh, I'm mixing up all my Greek mythology, but like it's kind of like that.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, I'd rather have them introduce the crutch into the match that way instead of them just, you know, going under the ring and pulling the crutch out.
But I did, you're right. I did love that they, like, it's not that the crutch is just there. It's like the camera actually does catch an image of the security guard pulling the guy back, and he's not even like, but my crutch.
The guy's just hopping off on one foot.
How will I get home?
So Ciampa gets back in the ring with this crutch, and they do another great job of teasing a prop before it's actually used. They do this 3 times. They did this with the cement floor. They did this with the chair. They're going to do this one more time when the turnbuckle pad gets exposed. And they do a great job of telling a story and making you forget about this stuff, only for them to come back to it and just absolutely shock you with what the result is.
That is the thing. I had completely forgotten about the concrete. Like, so when he rips up the carpet, I was like, well, or mat, whatever. I was like, okay, this is probably going to come into play later. But I had forgotten it. And then so when he landed onto it, and that was, and this might just be me, this might be wrong, but like, that's the first time I remember like a direct cut, like, to the audience. And there was this guy just going, oh, the crowd is just so into it at this point. It's really just like, I don't know. It's kind of an amazing thing to watch. It's this sort of like group, not exactly a mob, because it's not like they're rushing the stage, but just they're so into it, and they're so like not thinking about anything else. Like, it's nuts.
The best thing about Ciampa getting splatted on that cement is afterwards the crowd begins to chant, "You deserve it. You deserve it."
Which is so mean.
It's mean, but let me tell you the significance of that chant. When someone works really hard to build fan support and are incredibly over, and if they win that big match, they show up the next night on Monday Night Raw and deliver a promo, and they can't even deliver the promo over the crowd chanting, "You deserve it." So the NXT's crowd ability to take a chant that is so positive for so many people over the years and turn it into a chant saying "fuck you" to the biggest heel in the business is something unreal.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Right after that, both of them slowly find their way back into the ring, and there's this awesome shot of each of them sitting in a corner with the crutch dead center. which eventually leads to a game of tug-of-war over the crutch.
Yes. I mean, at that point, I was like, why not? I think that, I mean, again, there just comes a point where you stop questioning it. It's two grown men in Speedos tugging at a crutch, trying to like figure out which one is going to beat the crap out of the other one with the literal crutch.
So in the video package, you could see with Tommaso Ciampa's initial return, he attacked Gargano with a crutch.
I did see that in prep, and I had forgotten about it until this morning when I started watching the real match. Yeah, props. It looks like it hurts. Like I know that there's. I mean, I think the theme of all of this. It looks like it really hurts.
It looks like it really hurts. So this game of tug-of-war over the crutch, it eventually ends with Johnny getting it and just unleashing on Ciampa. He smacks him like 3 or 4 times over the back. You think Tommaso's going to get that momentum back by throwing him out of the ring. He turns around and just smacks him over the head with it. And the reaction from the crowd is just brilliant because you don't see a whole lot of headshots like that in wrestling anymore. Mm-hmm. And it's just so good. You know, right after that, Johnny removes the turnbuckle pad. And the interesting thing about the turnbuckle pad, too, is that you forget about it for like 10 minutes because he removed that pad. They just have like 10 minutes of straight wrestling. You forget it's a wrestling match, but like after brutalizing each other for this long, it's awesome to see just like 10 minutes of like real good wrestling in the match, too.
Now this is where like again, I think my brain like stops being able to like keep this in a coherent story. Mm-hmm. I just wrote down that Johnny just starts slapping him. Is this where he just starts?
I believe so. Yes.
I think that's sort of this part that you're talking about, which was just. It's like, I don't know, like I've got nothing else. We've done the concrete, we've done the crutch. We've done the commentator table.
So we're just going to slap
I'm just going to slap the shit out of this guy and see what happens.
Gargano and Ciampa do this little wrestling portrait called Boo Yay, where the babyface will hit the heel and the crowd will chant yay. And then the heel will hit the babyface and the crowd will chant boo. So the two do Boo Yay for like 30 rounds or so back and forth. Gargano has Ciampa by his wrist tape. So Gargano can't use his right hand. Ciampa can't use his left hand. So they're just using their one free hand to wail on each other. And it gets to the point where Johnny gets this momentum where you just hear, instead of boo yay, you hear yay, 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 yay. And what is that stopped by? Tommaso just winding up and kicking Johnny right in the grapefruits.
That was another thing. I was very surprised that we had gotten like that far into the match where with the first like nut shot. I mean, I granted there's probably some like code of conduct where you're like code of honor where people aren't like going to go straight for the groin. But, you know, at that point, the commentators had like kept hammering home how there were no rules. Like again and again and again. So I'm surprised that it took that long for them to go for the nuts. It was all like, look, it was all a fever dream of like, again, sweaty man meats hitting each other for 40
Oh my gosh.
minutes.
This match, it goes 0 to 60 instantly. Like, doesn't slowly build up. It's immediate car crash pretty much. So what does happen is that, you know, Gargano gets Ciampa in the Gargano escape. For at least 60 seconds, he's rolling around trying to reach the ropes. But in an unsanctioned match, reaching the ropes doesn't break a submission.
Yes, I remember that.
So he's just wallowing around to the point where his only means of survival is to claw Johnny's eyes out. And after doing that, for the third time in the match, we get our fuck you, Ciampa chants.
There was that moment when they were both like in the corner, like in the air. Ciampa was like, kind of kept trying to like lift Johnny like by the dick and like throw him. And they were sort of in the corner and he's sort of climbing all over him. And
that results in Tommaso hitting his finisher, Project Ciampa, off the second rope.
I mean, here's the thing. I didn't even know he had a knee brace on. I mean, because he's wearing the shin guard. So when he took it off, I, again, like 35, 37 minutes into the match, give or take, I was just like, so this entire time he's had a knee injury? He's done all of this with a knee injury?
Oh,
What?
yeah. That video package talked about him tearing his ACL. The knee injury and the crutch, that's where all that storyline is really coming into play. Probably to the point where you've never expected to see a knee brace used as a weapon in a wrestling match.
No,
But
I was not. I will give that to you. I was very much not.
So what happens when Tommaso goes for this bare knee to Johnny's head? Johnny turns around and smacks him in the leg with the knee brace.
I did appreciate that. That's a lovely little bit of poetic justice.
Yes, and that brings us really to the final beat of the match, which is where Johnny's breaking apart this crutch, almost with intention of stabbing him with
yes,
sharp metal.
When he had the pieces.
Yes, but when he goes for it, he just stops. He stalls, and he sits down, and he pretty much just reaches out for an embrace for him.
They're just like, they've been going at this thing for like over half an hour. Like they're both like on the ground. I think it was Johnny who was like dragging himself over to Ciampa, and he just sort of like grabbed his face, or like he was trying to reach for his beard or something. And that was like the moment where I was like, just kiss. Like, you know that this is what this has been moving towards. Just kiss. Come on. Come on. Look, there are many places where you could have thrown in a kiss, and I think it would have been great. But that was the moment, like, because I know, obviously, like, there's this whole grand narrative that they're weaving about, like, the two of them coming together. I did wonder, like, is that how this ends, like, with them basically hugging it out?
Mm. Oh yeah.
Like, I realized the crowd probably would not have liked that, but I was trying to, like, put a narrative on this thing.
I mean, let's be fair. If this match is entertaining you to the lengths that it's entertaining you, this match is not going to stop with two dudes hugging in the ring.
Yeah.
So the best thing is just how Ciampa's playing possum here, just to draw Johnny in. Johnny almost goes for a hug at this point, and then Tommaso just tries to hit him over the head with the knee brace. And Johnny ducks right under it. He turns Tommaso around and puts him in the Gargano escape. And, the Gargano escape isn't enough. He wrenches his leg back, grabs the knee brace, wraps it around Ciampa's face, and Ciampa instantly taps out. It's just poetic justice at its finest.
And then that's the end. And then a woman runs out from backstage.
Yes, Mrs. Wrestling, Johnny Gargano's wife, Candice LeRae, comes out and celebrates with him.
I just really loved, like, obviously it's probably dangerous for her to be there, but I just love the fact that, like, all this is going on. She's like somewhere backstage, and like now she just sort of comes running out of nowhere. I was like, where the fuck were you all this time? I mean, not that you could have done anything, but like, where the fuck were you?
Well, Candice LeRae is a contracted NXT wrestler.
Okay.
So she's allowed to be backstage, but I feel like she found that it was best to let them handle it.
Probably.
Yeah. It's actually interesting due to COVID and everything. There's been, WWE, NXT. They've been forced to do some more cinematic matches, and Gargano and Ciampa actually had a empty arena match last month, which wound up.
Oh, really?
Not even being in an arena. It was like a ring in an empty, spooky, poorly lit warehouse, and they had this awesome guerrilla style match, and it was just so good. Like, their ability to just continue telling stories over 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And normally at this time, NXT guys from NXT, if they're successful, they find their way up to like WWE weekly television.
Yeah.
But sadly, sometimes WWE weekly television is where NXT superstars go to die. Because NXT is run by Triple H, but WWE is run by Vince McMahon. And McMahon doesn't really know how to book a NXT superstar week to week.
Hmm.
It's a little sad.
Yeah.
So, do you have any final thoughts on what I have chosen to show you this morning?
I don't think I have a strong enough stomach to like continue down this path. Like like I don't know what it is. I just I'm so glad to have stepped into the world for a morning, but I don't think I could keep coming back down there because I would just be too concerned for everyone's well-being.
Honestly, you're making the right choice. If anything phenomenal comes across that I feel Jamie needs to see, I will have you on for another episode of this show.
There you go. Absolutely. Like, yeah. But wow, that was a lot to take in.
Also, these days, it's really hard to, get into wrestling without knowing necessarily what to watch. It's wrestling on pretty much every night of the week. And 90% of it is terrible. I'll tell you this, wrestling is the worst thing about wrestling, but everything else building up to it is absolute art, in my opinion.
No, totally. There was a journey. I went on it. I landed in a different place, and now that I've come back, I'm forever changed.
Now, do you think you learned anything about theater from watching this match? Do you think there's anything you could possibly use in, a future player production that...
I think I learned how insanely brutal audiences can be and how bloodthirsty they can be, even in this modern day. And isn't that really so comforting in a way that we haven't really progressed from like, gladiators in ancient Rome? Like we still want blood.
Well,
No,
we live in a
true.
violent world, but I'm glad I can,
Well, you can release it in like non-lethal ways.
Satisfy that in a way that doesn't, turn me into a monster.
Exactly.
A legal way. I'm able to satisfy that in a legal way. Let's just
It's a public service is what it is. A
public service. That is brilliant. Awesome. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for us today.
I hope you get,
This has been super fun.
This has been great. No. Thank you so much for having me on. I've never done anything quite like this.
Me neither. I'm new to this. I'm not used to being on screen. I'm used to working backstage.
I know.
I've been moderating for a very high profile wrestling YouTube show recently. And working for them, inspired me to, generate my creative outlet a little here. And, I'm not going back to work for a while, so I gotta create something at this point. I want to thank Jamie again for being on the show.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you for having me.
I mean, what other way were we going to catch up? Like, if it weren't for this, I probably wouldn't have seen you for another 5 years. That being said, thank you again for watching. Like this video, comment, subscribe. This is normally the time where all of these little links are going to pop up of where you can go. I post daily action figure videos on here as well, so check those out. I'm going to keep doing these shows about me talking to my friends about wrestling stuff. So stay tuned. Thanks again to Jamie for being on the show. And finally, I don't want to be doing this forever. I want to get back to work. So stay safe, stay home. If you go out, wear a mask, vote on November 3rd. Don't be a dick and just support each other. Thanks for watching. Take care and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.